Hey folks, SSJ Pac-Man here, bringing you another computer video. Today we're going to be talking about AMD's keynote at CES 2019. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we've got a AMD Ryzen approximately 3700 uh, engineering sample here versus a i9 9900K from Intel running at stock with no MCE on or any funny business. This is just stock results. So we've got the Intel finishing Cinebench R15 with a score of 2040 versus the engineering sample Ryzen 3000 getting 2057. So I would say that that is a Ryzen 3700 running at about 4.2 gigahertz if I had to make a guess. What leads me to believe that is that AMD Zen 2 offers a 13% IPC gain over Zen Plus, and I have a 2700X, and I'll show you some results of that. So if we take this 13% IPC and we plug it in here, taking my best Cinebench result at 4.2 gigahertz, you get a score of 2,178 if you increase this number by 13%. Now, I don't think that's indicative of a lot of Ryzen 2700Xs. So if you were to come down here, this is the result I just ran with programs running in the background, such as these. I didn't set this up to run or anything. This is just, I got home, turned off the miner, started making this video. So if we take that 1827 instead of the 1928 and we multiply it by 13%, you get 2064. 2064 is awfully close to 2057. So I would say that we're looking at running right around 4.2 gigahertz on this engineering sample with a 15% IPC gain. Brings it up to what an Intel i9 9900K running 4.7 gigahertz all-core turbo boost would be getting in Cinebench R15. And I'll show you why I think that. Here we have PC World's chart for the i9 9900K Coffee Lake CPU with MCE off multi-core enhancement, aka overclocking out of the box. So if they run by Intel spec, they're getting about 2065 points in Cinebench, which is awfully similar to AMD's new engineering sample. Now with MCE on, they're getting closer to 2183 here, and that should be a 5 gigahertz overclock. So that kind of tells you what we're playing with here. And if we were to go by my overclocking numbers, you see 2178, 2183. Pretty darn close. So it looks like AMD is matching, if not beating, Intel's IPC at this point. Because if they are running 4.2, which would be about 13% more than what I'm getting on my 2700X, those numbers fall right in line with each other. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to guess that that processor is running right around 4.7, that Intel processor, and that engineering sample from AMD is running right around 4.2. You can see here this is a turbo boost frequency for all cores on the 9900K. You can see this is at wiki chip i9 9900K 4.7. So I'm guessing that AMD is getting closer to 4.2 on this chip right now. And if they can push the clock speeds, it's going to be a heck of a chip. But right now, their IPC is competing against the 4.7 gigahertz at probably 4.2. So here's the chip that they were showing off that got that 20,000 or 2057 score. You can see here that we've got this big die here and this little die here. This big die is the I/O chip. The little die here is the Ryzen 8 core. It's kind of conspicuous that there's this big blank spot here though. almost like they could be putting a second chip on there to make it a 16 core 32 thread desktop processor. Now, nobody has said that this is the case yet from AMD, but it just looks awfully conspicuous. Awfully conspicuous there. The real question is, are we going to see the latency issues with this I/O chip here? Or is that I/O chip going to fix some of the intercore latencies that we saw with Ryzen 1 and Ryzen Plus? This fellow, Adored TV, he goes real heavily into this. This video is from a couple months ago. I don't know, maybe almost 6 months ago now. But this was talking about different ways of routing the information through the CPU. And what they came up with, not him, but whoever he's referencing, I can't remember at this time, they found that this buttered donut design cuts the latency down to within 10% of like the ring bus architecture from Intel. So latency should be going down no matter what. But the real question is, how good did they do on that I/O die there? That is the big question. These are the leaks from Adored TV on what the new Zen processor will be. We're really hoping to get a lot more of this information at CES, but it looks like the leak on that part was a little overwhelming. But AMD has said that they've been targeting 5 gigahertz for their clock speed on this next gen of Ryzen. They've been saying it for a little while now. And so with these leaks here, we can see there's the 3700X. So I guess that wouldn't be the 3700X. That would be the 3600X that she's holding in her hand there because it's 8 cores, 16 threads. I really do expect to see a 5 gigahertz processor. This is probably going to be switched around though. I bet you this 3600X hits 5 gigahertz. I bet you they don't have the 3700X hitting 5 gigahertz, but maybe they will. Maybe they'll have 5 gigahertz here. I'm not real sure on that. But the obvious case is that they're looking to hit 5 gigahertz. And if we could hit this 5.1 with the 15% IPC gains, I really think that Intel's going to be blown out of the water on that. We can do a quick calculation here. So if at 4.2 gigahertz, what would that be? That would be almost a 20%. So we'll just say another 15% on that 18, 19 score. 20, 15 plus 15 is 30. So times point 30 equals, we should be looking at a chip here, if it can hit 5 gigahertz with the 15% IPC gain, we should be looking at a chip that should be hitting 2,364 on the Cinebench R15, which would put that in between a Threadripper and the i9-9900K. But the Threadripper's got 16 cores, so that's a pretty considerable increase over the Intel i9-9900K. I'm not sure what they're going to bring out next. It's supposed to be Ice Lake or something, but they've been changing their lakes up a lot lately, so we'll see on all that. But this is pretty interesting. That really goes to prove that Adored TV's leaks had it right. They said chiplets. They said 16 cores. Let's just see about the clock speed. And with the numbers that they're putting up here, I think that it's only running at 4.2 currently. So that is a lot to sink my teeth into. I'm pretty excited. Hopefully AMD can pull off 5 gigahertz. But even if they can only do 4.7, it's going to be faster than the 9900K even at 4.7. Even with the 9900K overclocked. So move on to they demoed Forza Horizon 4 running on the Ryzen 3000 engineering sample that we can already say that we believe is running at 4.2. And it was getting around 132 frames. I saw as low as 110 and as high as 137. So this is just a random point that I screen capped from AMD CES conference. So you can see they're running about, it looks like 96% CPU utilization or GPU utilization. I was seeing it bouncing around between 96 and 98. So I don't know if that means a whole lot to you, but kind of means that there's a little room left on the table for the GPU. I know that this demo was supposed to be showing off the CPU, but I think it ended up showing off the GPU a little bit. There's at least 4% left in the tank there. So if we take those numbers and we look at, well, let's just play this a little bit here. So this is what Lisa Su has to say about this demo.
Running consistently at more than 100 frames per second at 1080p with maximum settings.
She clearly says maximum settings there. And so I went and checked out to see what Forza Horizon is doing at 1080p on current gen hardware. And we can see the 2080 Ti, man, it's getting 136 to 158 frames per second, 1% lows of 136, highs or averages of 158. If we look down to the numbers that we've already seen, 1080, the 1080 Ti here is getting 106 as its minimum and 132 as its maximum. So we already know that in Forza Horizon 4, the Radeon 7 Vega 60 GPU is beating a 1080 Ti. But so is Vega 64 liquid cooled. So I guess it's not saying a whole lot on that. But what you're not seeing here is the MSAA being turned all the way up. Yeah, ultra quality settings here, but the MSAA is not all the way up. So that's the kind of curveball here. Hardware Unboxed is a lot of excellent reviews on hardware, and they're the best benchmarkers around. They really put together some serious benchmarks, but they do consistently seem to use this 2 times MSAA. So I went to look to see what Forza Horizon MSAA could be turned all the way up to. And you can see here that MSAA can be turned all the way up to times 8. So that's 4 times more MSAA. And then if we look between the times 2 and the times 8 on this, this is a 1060 that they're testing at 1440p here. You're looking at about 10% would be 5. So we're looking at about a 13% decrease between these two. So the numbers that AMD was showing off are at ultra settings, completely maxed out. That's what Lisa Su said, maxed out settings. So that would tell me that the MSAA has to be turned all the way up. So that makes me feel a little better here because I was kind of worried. I was like, wow, you know, that's pretty much in line with Vega 64 liquid cooled. I mean, I know this isn't liquid cooled, but still nonetheless. So we can figure that the Radeon 7 GPU is about 13% faster than Vega 64 liquid cooled. And you can see that Vega 64 liquid cooled in Forza Horizon 4 is faster than a 1080 Ti. It's almost as fast as a 2080. So if we put 13% on 140, what do we get? 1.13 times 140 equals 158. 158 is dead in line with a 2080 Ti on this. Now they seem to be saying that this GPU is to compete against a 2080. That seems to be the numbers that they're primarily quoting throughout this. Let's see here. I thought that there was something that actually had some numbers on it. These all seem to be on processors. Video cards sometime, anytime. Well, I can't, there it is, boom. So, you can see that here, Lisa Su is quoting the Radeon 7 versus the 2080, and in Battlefield 5, it's just a hair faster, the Radeon is, and in Far Cry 5, it's just a hair faster, but in Strange Brigade, you're looking at closer to, yeah, that is a 14% increase in Strange Brigade over the 2080. So that puts it right in between a 2080 and a 2080 Ti. Now that's in traditional rasterization. I know that there's no ray trace and all that, but really, Battlefield 5 is the only game with ray tracing currently, so it's not really a lot to compare there. I wouldn't be too worried about getting your ray tracing on this generation. But I thought this was pretty interesting. So I'm expecting to see the Radeon 7 come out right in between the 2080 and the 2080 Ti, and it'd be about 13% faster than Vega 64, at least based on the Forza Horizon testing. Now, you can see here that Vega 64 is faster than the 1080 in this game. So this is a game that kind of leverages AMD a little bit more. We'll probably see a lot more of Radeon 7 being closer to a 1080 or a 2080 than a 2080 Ti, considering that a 2080 Ti is generally about 30% faster than a 2080. So let's move on from there to AMD EPYC. Now this is a really cool one. This is the big doorstopper. This is the one that's going to put the money in AMD's pockets. Going to be able to afford Lisa Sue a new jacket. So let's check this out.
What you're seeing on the screen is an incredibly complex simulation, and it's really the atomic movement and combination of a common HDL protein component.
Mic off.
And if you take a look at the bottom, what you see there is the important metric. It's actually the number of nanoseconds per day that you can run. And what you see is that you have a single EPYC processor running against two Intel processors, and the EPYC processor is running faster.
Mic on.
So you can see from that 8.4 versus 9.8, that's about a 10% difference. It's a little bit more than that. One AMD EPYC 7 nanometer, I believe it's Rome processor, is beating two Xenon 8180s. And I bet most people don't really know a whole lot about the server processors and how much they cost and things like that. But this last gen EPYC 7601 32 core was $4,619. Now, the product that they're showing off here is the new version of this, which is a 64 core, 128 thread, single socket server processor. So basically two of these slapped together. So we can assume that the next EPYC is going to cost about $9,500. Maybe they'll give them a discount. I'm not sure. But that was running against not one, but two 8180s, which retail for $10,000. $10,000. And it beat it with just one. And it will be cheaper than just one of these Xenon 8180s. That's a bad news for Intel. And the last little bit on that is there are no 8180s in stock because they can't even make these things because the silicon is gigantic. There are way too many flaws. Intel can't get out from under themselves on these things. So Rome is going to be an incredible processor. 10% faster than $20,000 worth of CPUs for $9,500, more than likely. Maybe they'll charge more. I'm not real sure what they're going to do. But with chiplets, as you can see here, you get to put lots of these little guys on. They don't cost a whole lot to make these little guys. That AMD or that EPYC processor or that Xenon processor, it's almost as big as the entire die that this EPYC is mounted on. It's real hard to get the kind of yields that you're going to get out of chiplets in monolithic dies like this thing here. I don't think that they're going to tell me what the size of the die is here, but you guys can check that out for yourself. It's quite the massive die. But we're talking 10% faster than two $10,000 processors. That's insane. So this is going to be what's stuffing the money in the pockets of AMD. I mean, the desktop processors will help and everything, and really all they are is little pieces of that Rome die. You guys can see it right here. These are the exact same thing that are going on that Rome die. This is the exact same I/O chip that's going on that Rome die. By the way, this I/O chip is 14 nanometer, and the actual processors are 7 nanometer. So um, I think that's about all I got for you guys today. This is really good news. I know a lot of people are disappointed because we got all these leaks and they thought that AMD was going to tell us everything today, but I'm actually really, really excited. Not only did we get confirmation of chiplets and that it's almost a guaranteed, by the way, that that's designed out, that there's going to be a 16 core, 32 thread desktop Ryzen processor coming out, which pretty much proves these leaks to be correct. Everybody should thank Adored TV for this. This was fantastic, and I'm super excited. We're gonna see the 15% IPC increase and or 13% IPC increase, and I believe that engineering sample was running at 4.2 gigahertz. Let me know if you guys think so in the comments below. Like it if you liked it. If you didn't like it, let me know. I can't fix it if I don't know what I've done wrong. Thanks for watching.